when Nathan came home, he would go around the house and he would pick up little tiny pieces of lint off the carpet and hoard them, collect them in his pockets. And then he had a car that he would carry. He wouldn't play with it, he'd just carry it. And then he'd push the lint into the car all day long. And then he'd come to you and he'd want it taken back out so that he could push it back in again. And in my mind's eye, I could see him, the orphanage concrete everywhere, and I could see him picking up little pebbles and putting them in a crack in the concrete and entertaining himself that way, and that was how he played. And I can, one of my fond memories of our first nights home, I can remember I put out a street map, which none of it made sense to him anyway, but had some little cars, and I was trying to show him how you could drive the cars around, and I was making vroom, vroom noises, and he was looking at me like, what are you doing? And but we had to go through that and teach him how to play, teach him how to go through that process. He had half a pistachio shell that he carried around. That was his little thing for weeks, that he carried the pistachio shell. He called it pistachio after a while, but that was enough, right? He didn't know what to do with all of the toys and the things and all the accessories that we had, every toy comes with add-ons, and he was totally happy with just half a pistachio shell. So
I had a similar experience with Colin, where one of the first days home, I just sat him on the floor and I put some blocks around him, and he just stared at me. Like, he would look at them and me and like, what am I supposed to do with this? So I had to show him, and it was actually kind of fun for me. You get to relive your childhood where you're teaching them how to play, a block, you're stacking up the blocks, and then he was excited when that was done, and I'm like, now look what you can do. And we knocked him down, and he was like, it was just,
and he doesn't get in trouble
awesome, and he doesn't get in trouble, right? And blowing bubbles was awesome for him. Just those fun things that you get to learn how to do all over again with your child, and teaching him how to play. But it was in a way, it kind of made me sad that he hadn't had those experiences where he didn't know what a rattle did. He didn't know all of those things. But then I got to show him, and I got to see him learn that, and I got to see the excitement in his eyes, and that was fun for me.
Discover everything again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool. I noticed with Mimi, and I think it's interesting to note with kids, there's so many different experiences, and because I had worked for Wasatch Adoptions, working with families after they came home and sending back reports to all these different countries, I really felt like I got this just gamut of how children responded. Kids who are lashing out, but some kids are easy. Yeah. and I don't think, and I kept waiting with Mia a little bit to wait. I kept kind of watching her for all of these terrible things to happen that I knew could happen. And I remember the first day, she'd actually been adopted by another family. They got her home. And then after actually only about 2 or 3 days, the way they just described it is they just kept saying, she doesn't feel like she's ours. We think she's somebody else's. And she was mine. But after she got home, he brought her, this other family, the dad dropped her off, and she cried for about 15 minutes. But the lifesaver was my 3 older children. They took her, first of all, to the piano and started showing her how to play the piano, and she thought that was the funniest thing in the world. And then they just took her outside and showed her, just as kids, she would watch as they kicked the ball, and she started kicking the ball, and that was just a blast. And she really is quite a happy little soul. I think she's quite a survivor. But so sometimes your children, they just need to be so carefully held one-on-one with a parent, and sometimes introducing them to other children, kids have some innate ability, and they're really good at teaching them how to play and how to respond to situations. And so that was just really fun to watch, that it was my children who could get her to do those things more so than we could.